At least 9% of Australian young people report that they are attracted to the same sex. 61% report experiencing verbal abuse, 18% physical abuse, 26% other forms of homophobia. There are strong links between homophobic abuse and feeling unsafe, excessive drug use, self-harm, and suicide attempts.
The majority of schools are unwelcoming places for gay and lesbian students. More often than not, they're actually hostile places for them. Those students that come out tend to do so in spite of their school environments, not because of them.
In late 1996, a young gay psychology student realised he wanted to do something, however small. On a warm summer's day, he walked into the city of Greater Geelong's youth services to see if he could help with their gay and lesbian youth support group. He was hoping they wouldn't laugh and send him away. They felt sorry for him and thought he was just looking for a boyfriend.
This is the old post office. The City Greater Geelong Youth Services had a project here to support gay and lesbian young people called GARTH. I worked here between 1996 and the year 2000. It was the experience of the gay and lesbian students who I supported here that led to my work challenging homophobia in the local schools and the very first school I worked in, an all-boys Catholic school.
Daniel decided he really wanted to challenge homophobia in schools, but was told by academics, authorities, and all in between it just wasn't possible, especially in Catholic schools and country and rural areas.
But did Daniel listen to any of this? Not on your life. He went ahead and did what he knew was right and necessary, in the process developing a program that has not only been enthusiastically endorsed by Catholic schools in Geelong, but which is, I believe, Australia's most sophisticated and effective program for challenging school homophobia.
Disappointed, and I wanted to do something to support those young people that I asked a lot of teachers, I asked a lot of workers and organisations, and they all said, well, you're going to have to wait. And they told me to wait for the Education Department to implement policy. They did, 11 years later. They told me to wait for an inclusive sexual health resource that was going to be launched. And they did, 7 years later. I was also told to wait for more experienced workers to find a solution. But the way I saw it, the young people that I was working with actually didn't have the luxury of time to wait. And so I decided not to.
Not that it was ever going to be straightforward.
Daniel?
Yeah, one of the things that happens when I go into schools and actually work with students, lots of teachers say, well, are you going in, are you going to, basically because this is gay stuff in schools, are you basically going to be doing kind of 6 weeks of anal sex education?
What no one would expect, least of all Daniel, was that it would actually work. In 2002, after working in many schools, Daniel launched a formally evaluated educational package called Pride and Prejudice.
A time that I felt different would have to be when I was in high school, and probably when I was about 15 or 16, and I was quite chubby, quite fat, and also had a lot of acne.
I think probably when I started high school.
Thank you so much. Jane Austen for the title of the program.
Teachers really seem to like this package.
I think the importance of a package like Pride and Prejudice is that it's not about really who delivers it, but what's involved in it. The power lies in what it enables us to get across to the kids. Pride and Prejudice is great in that it forces the kids to think about their preconceived ideas, their views, their values, and it often challenges them to be aware of what they think.
In 6 weeks, student attitudes towards gay men and lesbians significantly improved, thought by researchers to be a world first. The same was later found in 2010-2011 with homo-aggressive behaviours. But Daniel still had to pay the bills.
Then I guess to validate and let them know that violence under any circumstances is not okay, and the fact that they might be feeling scared or alone is to be expected.
One is they can challenge and interrupt the attitudes and behaviours of other men and boys too. This is not something that comes out of the blue. At the same time, I guess if you look at the Australian way, it's family business. Let's not get involved. Let's not upset anybody. So people are less likely to intervene. And with the best intentions, we hope that it's going to be okay.
And then there was international LGBT work across 4 continents. Highlights included Poland, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia, with thanks to the Dutch government. In 2009, Daniel decided to do something audacious. Repeating an Australian Human Rights Commission project from 1999-2000, where he'd met Rodney Croome, and being not one to muck around, Daniel decided to drive around Australia.
So I was trying to challenge homophobia one cuppa at a time,
Yep, you heard him. Dan decided he was going to challenge homophobia one cuppa at a time, self-funded and fueled by the goodwill of people all over Australia. Oh, he launched a book too. Just in case you're not sure, it's the one on the right.
Very frightened for him.
You're frightened for me? What makes you frightened?
Because people are knowing you're coming, and if there's bad people around that might get in groups.
Dan's mother wasn't the only person who was scared for him. In fact, one woman told Dan that she was concerned he might die. But he had a 38-week tour to go on and lots of work to do.
This evening we're at the State School Teachers Union of WA. We've just left Port Lincoln about, I think it was about 90 minutes ago. We're at pretty much the start of the Nullarbor Desert and Nullarbor Plain on the West Australian, South Australian border. The only place that you can stay here when you're crossing the Nullarbor is this wonderful mosquito-infested surrounds around me right now. Welcome to Esperance. She said that she only got onto Facebook because her grandmother actually coerced her to. Townsville was quite interesting because it was one of the places on this tour where its reputation preceded it, because I got to meet not only L's, G's, but also B's and T's. So I'm going to have my cornflakes in a cup. I've just spoken with a bunch of local youth workers about what life is like for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender young people in the Port Lincoln region and also on the Eyre Peninsula. I rang up the day before and said, look, I'm in town. I'd love to speak to you sometime this week. Yeah, sure, come in, let's have a chat.
Where you come from?
I've just come from up the hill there. So behind me is the Port Lincoln police station. One of the things that they say, especially in regional and rural places, is that once you actually meet a gay person and they become flesh and blood, as opposed to an idea in your head, that it can change for people. I drove for about 8 hours from Mackay to get to a small community called Biggenden. But I was really, really keen to meet them and hear their story.
We're about to go to the main street.
Done. And what's the name of the main street?
Lions Street with a Y. This is the bottom pub. You can tell that it's the bottom pub because it's at the bottom of the hill.
Okay.
Even though the top pub is only 2 doors away and not at the top of the hill.
So the bottom pub is not where the bottoms hang out and the top pub is not where the tops hang out?
No.
Today from a woman who it would be safe to say is as rough as Hessian underpants.
My name is Daniel Witthaus and I support equal love. I think that if I talk to young people around the country, whether it be in the city areas or in the country, what they tell me is they want to be able to hold the hands of the people that they love and do that without fear of violence or ridicule or jokes or whatever that may be. I think full marriage equality gets us one step closer.
Daniel, you take an educational package to schools.
More recently, Daniel has been developing workshops for Australian marriage equality. The goal is for everyday Aussies to learn how to share their story and challenge marriage equality resistance.
Oh, we're on.
No.
So strategically, who should be sitting on whose lap?
One man. Hundreds of cuppas. 266 days.
My ass look fat, man.
38 weeks. Every state and territory. Yes, including Tasmania. One gay man. One gay truck. One very gay idea. To challenge homophobia. One cuppa at a time.
His website will be probably about, is it here, Vincent?
Where?
His website, where's it going to be? Here?
Yeah, that'll do.
It might even have some sort of sheen.
So who is this man? He's an activist. He's a workshop developer. He's a role model. He's an anti-homophobia educator. He's an award-winning athlete. He's bringing furry back. But he's also just a passionate guy who wants to make the world a better place. He's
Ambassador Daniel Witthaus.
Daniel Witthaus.
Daniel Witthaus.
Today, Daniel Witthaus.
Please welcome Daniel Witthaus.